Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at the patch 9.3 patch notes. So be sure to check out also the tier list that I'm going to release on this patch. I'm definitely going to do a support tier list, AD carry tier list, and mid tier list. I might do some of the other ones if I have time for it as well. But let's go ahead and get into this. Be sure to like and subscribe as well if you enjoy the content. Good true content, no clickbait, no early, saying that that's what's going to be on the patch, and really it's just the PvE, the actual patch notes. So if you like that good in-depth content, be sure to like and subscribe. But let's go ahead and get in here. So there's going to be a lot of changes going on this patch. Okay. Number one, they finally decided to nerf kind of the four horsemen here, or at least three of them, that have been a problem for a long time. And, people could ask, why is it taking them 6 months to do this? And we may never know the answer to that, but they are finally doing some meaningful changes to Aatrox, Akali, and Irelia. Urgot has eluded major changes. He's the fourth horseman that's not on here. He did get some nerfs last patch. He's still very strong. So as I predicted in my one trick video, if you watch that, one trick for 2009, I predicted that of those four horsemen that were really powerful, the Irelia, Urgot, Aatrox, and Akali, I said Urgot was the most likely to get off with the least amount of nerfs. And that seems to be the case for now. Okay, so what are they doing? All right, big thing that they finally changed about Urgot, he no longer heals on minions. This has always been a cardinal sin of laning, is if somebody can heal a lot off of an AoE ability against minions, then it creates an unfair environment in the laning phase. This was true of Camille. Her W used to heal off of minions, her little arcing sweep with her legs, and there's been a lot of other champions like that. Kai'Sa, originally her Q was coded as single target, even when it hit multiple targets, and so people would rush Death's Dance on her and then just spam Q on the minion wave, and they would heal for like full health every wave just about. So that's always been a cardinal sin. For some reason, Aatrox has been able to get away with this for a long time. They finally took that away. So now he only heals based on hitting champions. So he can't passively heal up from bad trades. They did give him some more health per 5 to make up for that. It's not going to make up for it. It's a really, really hefty hit to his sustain. The other change is that he can no longer in quick succession dash twice. So with his charges, it now has a flat cooldown, does not have a charge system. So now he's not going to be able to dash as frequently in the middle of his combo. Certainly not until he gets more points in his E later on in the game. So these two changes are going to make him a lot worse. He might still see some play in competitive, but he's going to be a lot worse. Now, he is someone where in solo queue, I think he was pretty close to 50%. Whereas people like Irelia and Akali are sitting around 46, 45%. So you really couldn't win unless you're like a specialist and like really good on those champions for the last few patches. Aatrox was a little bit different. You could win with him. And I think that Urgot actually has the highest win rate and requires the least amount of mastery to be effective with in solo queue. Let me see. I didn't actually look at the stats for this. But let me just pull it up here really quick and just kind of get a sense of this. Actually, Aatrox was pretty low. I take that back. I thought that he was at 50%, but I guess he was kind of low on this, at least at the platinum level. He was a lot lower than I thought he was. Okay, and then Akali is pretty low as well. Camille's decent. Irelia is really low. Where's old Urgot here? I thought Urgot was around like 52, maybe after those nerfs. Okay, those nerfs actually brought him down quite a bit to 49. So all of these champions haven't been that great in solo queue for a little bit. It's just primarily in pro play. If you follow pro play at all, it's just like Aatrox is pick banned every single game. Urgot almost every game. Akali is super popular. Irelia and Akali have lost a little bit of their priority sometimes, but Aatrox and Urgot have both been very, very prevalent, with Akali and Irelia still showing up quite a bit. So this should nerf him even harder. It's going to be really rough on him. I think that he is probably going to fall out of the meta, although maybe in some matchups you could still see him, but I expect him to fall pretty hard. Massive nerf to Akali as well. They finally changed her shroud to where it no longer shields her from turrets. They're trying to defend their choice. They're like, well, you might be wondering, why did it take us, 8 months to get here? because she needed this. Like, she had no other way to dive towers. I'm like, yes, she does. She has like 4 mobility spells. Make her dive like every other assassin. You know, make her use one of her ults to get out. So 1 ult to get in, 1 ult to get out. Or make her use her shuriken to get out. She had so many ways of diving, right? She could shuriken, hit him with the shuriken, then go in, you know, combo, kill him with her ult, and then ult back out. She has a lot of ways to get out. So they even say it here that she has like 4 different mobility moves. So, yeah, she doesn't need that. So they finally took away her true invisibility around towers with her shroud, which will make a lot of people happy. And they took away all of her healing. Whenever she casts her Q, which I think this is a little intense. I would just say, kind of like with Aatrox or with Camille and a lot of these champions, if you hit champions with it, I think you should be able to heal. But I just don't think you should be able to heal off the minions with it. And so that is a massive, massive buff. That's going to make her way, way worse in a lot of matchups. I think she's just going to be awful. She's already not that great in solo queue for most people, unless you're really, really good on her, like a Challenger, Akali, main. So this is really, really going to gut the champion, I think. Super rough. And they're increasing the cooldown on her shroud at later levels. It's like, Jesus, how many times do you need to nerf her? Like, just nerf the shroud and it would have been fine, like around towers, and just like maybe make this only heal if you hit a champion. But this is like, they're going very heavy-handed on this patch, which, to be honest, that's probably okay to shake up the pro meta a little bit, but that's going to feel real bad if you're Akali and you got that KDA skin or something and you're just learning how to play her. That's definitely going to be a feels bad. Camille no longer stuns minions and monsters. This is a hit to jungle Camille. It won't affect top lane Camille, who I still think is really good, especially with these nerfs to Aatrox, Irelia, Akali, and if we start seeing some more tanks coming back into the top lane, I think that Camille and Fiora could be very, very strong, especially in solo queue. And I said that in my one-trick video. It's panning out very similar to how I predicted it. They are nerfing Aatrox. They nerfed Urgot a little bit. They're nerfing Akali and Irelia. I said Fiora and Camille will probably rise up a little bit in top lane after that happens. They're already good. We'll see how that pans out. But as far as like the jungle is concerned, I don't know a lot about this. I don't jungle Camille. I've heard that it's really hard and that you can have a very dangerous clear on your first couple of clears especially. So we'll see. My instinct is that she's going to take a lot more damage off of this. Now you still deal damage to minions and monsters. It just doesn't stun them. But you're going to take a lot of extra hits from raptors and golems. You're not going to be able to stun the scuttle crab anymore. So scuttle's not going to take that extra damage. So I'm not sure exactly how hard this is going to affect her clear. They also nerfed the jungle experience a little while ago. They also nerfed Tiamat a little while ago, which is something that she needs to clear. So there's been a lot of nerfs to jungle Camille. I haven't even seen her that much, you know, in mid-platinum level play. So she's not like pick or ban in pro play either. Like, she's good in pro play, but there are a lot of other options. So I don't know. This is pretty intense. I think that they could have just like made her hookshot deal like less damage or something. Maybe it deals like 20% less damage to monsters. But to take away the stun completely seems kind of rough. So I think this might knock her out of the jungle, but she'll still be pretty good in a solo lane. Obviously, this is going to have virtually no repercussions in solo lanes most of the time. Okay. I guess if you go in for a trade with your E, maybe the minions don't hit you 1 or 2 extra times because of the stun, so that could matter, but by and large, it's mostly for jungle Camille. I think that'll be the death of jungle Camille, but maybe not. We'll see. I just feel like there's going to be other options now. Like, Lee Sin's going to move up a lot in priority off of this, and a lot of other early game sort of aggression, highly mobile champs. Okay, Cassiopeia, this is a massive nerf to Cassiopeia as well. They are coming in hard with these nerfs on these like top-end champions. Noxious Blast at later levels, this is what you max first, going down 40 damage. That's pretty massive. They are increasing the ratio by 0.9, but you're going to have 400 AP before you even break even from where you used to be in terms of baseline damage there. So that's obviously not going to happen in most games, or not until very, very late in the game. Miasma, they are nerfing this a ton too, so now it's going to be 110 mana. So they're really hitting that mana cost hard, and the damage per second is like falling off a cliff. Now, most people don't sit in the miasma the whole time, but they'll definitely take a few ticks, right? So even if they take like 3 ticks out of this, that's still going to be minus 60 damage at the top end. So it could be up to minus 100 damage. All right, so that's a lot of damage off for W, a lot of damage off for Q. Now, she can still spam her E a lot. She could go back to E spam, and this wouldn't matter that much if she maxes E first and then maxes Q second and then W last. Then it may not matter that much, but that would mean she'd have to go back to at least one big mana item. She'd have to go back to tier probably, and she might have to go back to like Rod tier, which would hurt her aggression in the early game a lot. It would make her more of a scaling champion instead of a lane bully again. So we'll see if it's worth it. I mean, at level 3, you're losing 20 damage on that Q. I guess if you have 100 AP, you know, you're losing 10 damage on the Q. But she already does a lot of damage. I mean, she's really overpowered right now, so we'll see. I think she'll still put out quite a bit of damage because most of your damage does come from your E later on in the game. You know, you're only going to be casting your Q a few times. Like, every Q that you cast, you're going to be casting, like, 3 E's probably. At least. So, I don't know. The miasma, the damage probably doesn't matter that much. It all adds up, though. And she got nerfed last patch, too, I think. And her mana cost on her Q went up a little bit in the last couple of patches. So, I think she'll definitely fall down a little bit. But I expect her to still be pretty strong. I think she was at, like, somewhere 51, 52%. She's at 51, roughly. So, I think she'll still be viable, especially in a tank meta. She's very good at shredding tanks. But I don't know if you can blind pick her anymore. We'll see. She's probably still, like, viable, but definitely weaker. Irelia, I think this is just, like... I mean, they're writing up a novel here for Irelia. I don't know why they've had to make, like, 50 different changes to her. Like, it's just, like, nerf the mobility on the Q. Just have a delay of, like, 3 seconds on it. Or something like that. I don't know. I didn't think that she needed to have, like, 20 changes over the last 5 patches or whatever. But I think this is probably going to be really, really bad for her. So what they're doing is they're doing per stack. It's giving you bonus attack speed, but I don't think it's giving you any on-hit damage. So she's just basically going to have a lot of attack speed. So 8 to 10 to 12%. And then at max levels, you get this. But you no longer get that on-hit... Wait. Okay, if you're at max stacks now, you gain 15 to 66 on-hit damage. So the per stack used to be on-hit. Now the per stack is attack speed. So now it does give you more on-hit. Okay, let's see. 0.25 bonus attack damage is on-hit. This is 0.04 bonus attack damage, but you used to get 4 stacks of this. That'd be 0.16. So it's a higher damage ratio, higher base damage for the on-hit. Used to go up to 50% attack speed. Now it 30, 40, 50. Now it goes 40, 50, 60. But it takes 5 stacks to reach max. Okay, so when you get to max stacks, it looks like it is actually stronger. But you have to get there first. So it's going to take you 25% more time to get your stacks up. But you are stronger when you get it. So worse in team fights when you don't have minions to stack it up on. Potentially stronger in laning phase. I think. It's a lot of changes. I think it's stronger if you're able to get all the stacks. But the question is, can you do it? Remember, it doesn't break shields anymore, which hurts her matchup dramatically against things like... Victor or Urgot or just a lot of these other champions that are going to have shields top lane. Riven. So that's going to be rough. Blade Surge, increasing the damage. I think it was really hard for her to wave clear. This should still be kind of hard to wave clear a lot of the time. And now it doesn't reduce magic damage. This is going to make her a lot worse in magic matchups. So against, you know, Rumble top, Victor top, Vlad top. A lot of bad matchups top now in terms of magic damage. So keep that in mind. And definitely mid lane. I think this would probably be the end of mid lane. Because she's no longer going to be able to block huge bursts of damage from Zoe or huge bursts of damage from just anybody. Syndra, Fizz, all of these things. She has no magic protection against them now. So I think this is going to run her out of mid lane for sure. But you still might see her top lane some. We'll see. It's been pretty rough. It's been pretty rough. I think that she could still be viable top lane potentially, but there are probably better choices. Camille, Fiora, I think are going to be stronger. Even Riven, if you're very good on Riven. Riven's been gaining a lot of power lately. Okay. Now I don't like how they're wording this at all. So they're talking about, and they keep like italicizing it. With Phantom Dancer, instead the 3, so their game will feel better. League of Legends is not about feeling when you are coming up with power numbers. I'm not just like, oh, this champion feels powerful. It's like, no, either it is or it isn't. Like, you can quantify it. It's numerical to a certain extent. Like, some kits can feel good in terms of, like, the kit feeling good. Like, oh, I like this move. Or, oh, the Rakan W got completely gutted last patch. It's way worse than I thought it was going to be. That feels bad. But when you're talking about stats, there's not really a feeling to stats. It's like either it's a good stat or it's a bad stat. Either it's stronger or it's weaker. There's no feeling there. That's just math on items for the most part. So, I mean, like different power levels of power spike can be good, but I don't like how they're couching this as like, we want something net neutral. We think, because like the implication here is that AD carries are really strong, but people just don't feel like they're strong. That it's something with the perception that's off, right? That it's just like players are too dumb to figure out that like AD carries are good. Like, it's just, oh, did you close the door, Rory? That it's just like a hunch, right? Well, people just don't get it. They just don't feel good when they play AD carry. It's like, no, numerically they are underpowered. AD carries have been bad for the most part for the last 6 months. Now, recently, there has been a little bit of a resurgence. You know, some champions like Lucian are really, really strong. Vayne, after some changes to Vayne, and then Ezreal, those, like, can be strong. Okay, they take time to power up. Lucian doesn't. Lucian's just overpowered. But, like, Ezreal and Vayne take time to power up, but they can be good. But by and large, most AD carries, it doesn't matter how you feel. They've been awful. You know, your Jinxes, your Tristanas, all that stuff is just not good. And it's not about a feeling. It's about numerical power. Isn't that right, Rory? What are you saying? No eating that stuff, Rory. Honey, can you... Rory wandered in here and closed the door. She's trying to get at, like, this leftover sandwich that I have that I didn't move away from lunch earlier. Yeah, it's a camera. That's right, Rory. But yeah, I just don't like how they worded that, because the understanding is that like it hasn't been a problem. It's just people's perception has been a problem and not the numbers. It's like, no, bro, the numbers have been a problem. But anyway, so they are doing some stuff that'll help, but I don't think it's going to help in the way that people are expecting it will help. I don't think it's magically going to bring back all the 80 carries. You know, we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be that good. Can I have this? Okay, well, you can play with the wrappers. There you go. Good job. So we'll see. I just don't like how there's keep saying feel over and over again here, and even italicizing it, because it's not about feelings. It's about like stats and power. So anyways, I'm hopping off my soapbox. But yeah, I just don't like, because it just feels patronizing. Like, oh, you guys are feeling bad. It's like, no, they're bad, and that directly affects support. So anyways. So they're bringing back Cloak of Agility. Okay, good. And they've decided that crit is a 40% number again, which I think has always been a good round number for crit. They are doing some stat adjustments here that will help out with that. And we'll break it all down. We'll tell you what's good, what's bad, what's feeling, and what's actually making like real adjustments. Okay. Infinity Edge, I believe, in many circumstances, it's going to be stronger at single item. In most cases, it's going to be weaker at 2 items. Potentially, like, there might be some circumstances where it's like neutral at 2 items and it's worse at 3 crit items than it used to be. And by used to be, I mean with like definitely worse than the old school like 250% crit, obviously. But I'm talking about the most recent one, the 10% conversion to true damage and the double crit. Okay? And one of the main reasons for this is when you have a single item, you just rush Infinity Edge, it has 25% crit, it functions. It's an actual item. The old Infinity Edge did nothing because it just doubled your crit. And so it was terrible to rush. You should never do it. But now, if you get to 2 items, so if you go like Infinity Edge plus Rapid Fire Cannon, you only have 50% crit. Versus with the old build, you would have 60% crit because Rapid Fire used to be 30%. And it went up to 60% crit, so you're losing 10% crit right now, which is about 400 gold value. So you're just straight losing that 400 gold. Now, they are adding in 80 attack damage, which is a value of 350 gold. So there's that. So I would say at 2 items, it's about equal because they're adding on 10 AD. It's pretty close. You know, you're losing 400 gold value on the crit, but you're gaining 350 on the attack damage, and in many cases against a target between 50 and 100 armor, then the extra 25% crit damage is going to be more valuable than the 10% critical strike damage as true damage. So yeah, it's better at 1 item. It's roughly neutral at 2 items, but at 3 items, it's way worse. Because at 3 items, then you're only going to get 75% crit because everything's 25% crit now. Whereas with the old one, you'd get 120% crit, which is 100%, right? So you'd be losing 25% crit value, which is a lot. That's like 1,000 gold value. So you're losing 1,000 gold value on the item at 3 items from where you used to be, and nothing's going to make up for that at this point. So Infinity Edge is way weaker at 3 items. If you go Infinity plus Rapid Fire Cannon plus Static Shiv, it's weaker than before if you went those same items. Okay. So, and here's a little bit of math on that I did, just kind of looking at this. And I did this before in my 80 carry preview video from a few weeks ago when they first mentioned these changes. It used to only incorporate 70 AD, but I just want to talk about like what's the difference in these passes, because it's easy to calculate up the AD. So if you look at Infinity Edge, you can see the value here. It's about 112% gold efficient. Not including the 225% crit strike. But what's the difference between this ability, the 225% crit, versus the 10% conversion to true damage? Well, let's look at it. Okay, so with the old version, if you were doing 200 damage on an auto attack, you got a crit with the new Infinity Edge, the 225%, it would do a 450 damage crit. That would be all physical damage. Versus the old Infinity Edge, if you had 200 and you crit, you would do 360 total AD and 40 true damage. So it would still only be 400 total damage, but 40 of it would be true damage total. So how valuable is that true damage? Well, against a 100 armor target, which is a light tank, so someone, maybe a support who's going to have like maybe 1 armor item, a light armor item, maybe like a Knight's Vow or something like that, plus their base armor, is going to be around 100 armor, maybe a little bit more. Then it would be, you would do 225 flat damage with the new Infinity Edge, and with the true damage, you would do 220 flat damage. So very, very similar, just 5 more damage on the Infinity Edge. With 50 armor, though, so when you're going towards a squishier target, now this is going to be like an assassin, an AD carry, just someone who builds no armor, except maybe a little bit from runes, and they just have their base armor that they're working off of. So pretty much like no armor. Even Ninja Tabby gets you to like 80 armor in a lot of circumstances. So if there's no armor, then the crit's going to do 297 damage versus 278 off of the true damage. So the lower the armor goes, the less valuable the true damage is. But if someone had more armor, so if someone had 200 armor, I didn't add in 200 armor, but we could go ahead and add it up here real quick. So 200 armor. She wants Elmo, dear. Then it would be 100 divided by 200. So, no. 100 divided by 300. Okay, so it's going to be blocking 63% of the damage. So you're going to be taking 33. So that would be 450 times 0.33. You would only be dealing 149 damage off this one. Versus 360 times 0.33 equals 119 plus 40, 159. Okay. So if it's 200 armor, if it's a big tank, then the old Infinity Edge was actually better at dealing with that because of the true damage. Okay, so it's basically like if you're against squishies, if it's under 100 armor, then the new Infinity Edge is going to be better. If it's over 100 armor, then, you know, approaching probably 120 armor or so, then the old Infinity Edge is going to be better. Strictly in terms of 10% crit versus 25% extra crit bonus. Remember, you get a ton of extra crit off of the old Infinity Edge at 3 items. You get that 25% extra crit from what you would get these days. So, what does this mean? It's kind of a wash most of the time. Unless there's a champion that's going to 100% rush Infinity Edge, which is still, on a lot of champions, going to be pretty weak, then it's not really that much better. You know, because you're going to be getting it second item anyways. So if you go for, like, BF Sword into Static Shiv into Infinity Edge, you're not really gaining that much. It's net neutral. And then when you get your third item, when you get your Rapid Fire Cannon, it's actually weaker. And so this is not really going to help the curve on most AD carries. Now you might be wondering, well, what was it before? When it used to be plus 250% crit, then you would get 500 damage, right? So 200 damage would turn into 500, and these numbers would look a lot more impressive, right? This would be, you know, up into the 300s. You'd probably be hitting them for like 350, 360 versus 278. So you'd be hitting them for a lot more, especially squishy targets. They don't want to bring that back. I don't really see that. I think it was fine. I think the major problem back then was Ardent Censor. They've nerfed Ardent Censor a ton. I think that it was certain runes, like Warlord's Bloodlust, and how that interacted with some of those Energizer items. All of that's been nerfed, though. A lot of the individual AD carries that were too strong back then have been nerfed, like Caitlyn, like Tristana. They've both been nerfed. Ardent Censor's been nerfed. Janna's been nerfed into the dirt. Warlord's Bloodlust has been nerfed with Fleet Footwork. Like, there's the 80 carries of 2017 have been nerfed about 50 times. So I think if they just gave them back 250% crit, it would be fine in this environment. And that would actually make it like objectively more powerful, not feeling good. Because it's not going to be feeling good. It's going to be feeling about the same most of the time in these games. But anyways, marginally better. It is a better rush item. There will be some champions that will rush this instead of and it's only because they're basically deleting Stormrazor from the game, which we'll talk about here in a second. So some champions might have to rush this if they have certain breakpoints. Like Kai'Sa might have to rush this just so she can get an 80 item and get her Q evolve first. So she might end up rushing this and then doing like a Hurricane build or something out of that, like Infinity Edge and a Hurricane off Kai'Sa. So we'll just have to see. Kai'Sa's kind of a special case because she needs to get to 100 AD for that Q evolve. And they're nerfing the AD on all of the items. But anyways, we'll go into that a lot more in my AD carry tier list video, so be sure to check that out. I'll go through what I think will be all of the new cool builds. I'll try to come up with that over the next couple of days, but we won't go too far into that hole because I don't want this video to take forever, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. But anyways, so 1 item, better. 2 items, neutral. 3 items, worse. That's what you need to know about Infinity Edge. Okay. Essence Reaver, bad most of the time. Now, people are going to think about the Essence Reaver of old, and they're going to say, oh, but it was so awesome. I remember Essence Reaver on Ashe, or Essence Reaver on Xayah, or, you know, Essence Reaver on Sivir. This is not that, okay? It is worse than it used to be. And they mentioned Ashe and Xayah. One of the old problems with Essence Reaver from back in the day is it's like, it's an item that deceptively can feel cool. Like they're talking about, it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting CDR. That's awesome. I'm getting some crit. I'm getting some AD. You're not getting the Infinity Edge modifier. You need the modifier. So this modifier is not as big as it used to be. But you still need it. You need the 225%. It adds up. It's a very big deal, and you just don't get that modifier with this. And so that's why this is going to be rough. Now, if we look at Essence Reaver, I've got it pulled up here for you as well. 113% efficient. What was Infinity Edge? 112% efficient. So they're basically the same thing in efficiency. But it's like, what do you want to pay for, right? What do you want to budget for? Do you want 1.5% of your missing mana on hit? Or do you want 225% damage on your critical strikes, an extra 25%? You need this most of the time, right? You want the bigger hits, you want the bigger crits. That mana is just like, it's cool, it's a cherry on top, it's nice, but it's not amazing. Do you want 20% cooldown reduction? Or would you prefer 20 extra attack damage to make your crits hit even harder? Probably the attack damage, right? Most of the time, right? Like 20% CDR is cool, and technically that's probably worth... actually, I don't think it is worth more. Let's see. 20% CDR is 266 times 2. 532 value versus 20 AD. No. So the AD is worth more also. How is this? Oh, okay. It's saying this is worth 533. How is this math working? That's 1,000 for the crit. 2,800. Yeah, 2,800. 3,800. Oh, because this costs more. Okay, that's it. That's the percentage-wise. So this is also more slot efficient. So yeah, it costs 200 more gold, but you're getting, you know, more gold value out of it, so that if you do get to 6 items, which is kind of rare, it is going to be more efficient. So anyways, I think that Essence Reaver is a trap. I think there will be a lot of people that try to get this item, and I think it's going to be bad most of the time. Remember the Essence Reaver beforehand, before these changes? Does it have it written out here? Yeah, it used to cost 3,000 gold. This is a very big deal. So basically the way they're changing this, if you look it over, they're taking away 200 gold here. They're taking away 15 attack damage. Right? So that's 525 plus 200. And they are taking away 300 mana. So that's 725. 300 mana is 1.4 each. 1145. So they're taking away 1145 stats off of this item. And they're taking away Essence Flare, which was a huge, huge boost. And instead they're adding 25% critical strike, which is 1,000 gold. So they're basically taking away 145 gold worth of value on this item. They're making it to where you have to get it later in the game. And they're taking away the really powerful interaction with your ultimate active, right? And everyone's going to say, oh, this is great. It's the new Essence Reaver. It's like, no, it's not. It's way worse. You lost the really cool passive off of it, and you're just straight up losing 145 gold value off of the raw stats. It's not better. It is not better at all. So people will be trying this out. I don't think it's going to be good, though. I mean, I could be wrong about that. Maybe this is more valuable than I think. It would be nice to get some extra mana. You know, I could see this on like Sivir or something, maybe, just because she really tears through that mana when she's trying to clear waves. So on Sivir, yes, I could see it. Maybe on Xayah, who's a mana hog. But like, this is really just if you're spamming your spells hard, you know, where you're going to need this and you're just constantly running out of mana. But you have to ask yourself at some point also, like, okay, I'm replenishing 1.5% of my missing mana, but I'm losing 300 flat mana. How much mana would I have to go through to make up for that 300 missing? Right? So you'd have to burn through, like, I mean, if you burn through 3,000 mana, I can't even do the math right now, but I'm almost positive that this replenishment effect, although it seems cool, ultimately is going to be worth way less than 300 mana. Because every time you go back to the fountain, whenever you buy an item, you're going to refill all your mana. You're going to get this 300 mana back. So it's like, in 2 to 3 minutes, can you tear through enough of your mana in order to replenish 300 mana with this passive every, like, 2 minutes? Or 3 minutes, maybe, before you back and get an item. I'm not seeing it, but anyway. So I'm not a believer in Essence Reaver. I think that it's a scam. But we'll see. There'll be people trying it out. Like I said, maybe Sivir, just because she actually does have huge mana problems. But you're sacrificing a lot of your damage to do that, okay? So to get the cute mana interaction, you're giving up a lot of AD. You're giving up 20 AD, and you're giving up the critical strike bonus. So you're going to be a lot weaker unless you're really leveraging that mana hard. Okay, Spear of Shojin. So this is something they're creating that is basically like the old Essence Reaver, but they are substituting health for mana. And at first glance, this seems really good, right? You're like, oh my god, this is a dream for like Riven or for Jax or people who don't want the mana, who would rather have the health. The problem is it's way more expensive than the old Essence Reaver was. It's 3,400 gold instead of 3,000 gold, and it has less attack damage. So the previous Essence Reaver had 75 attack damage, which was really good, and now it's only 60. So it's 400 more gold, and you're losing 15 AD on it in order to get this Awakened Dragon passive, which is the same. It's literally the exact same thing as Essence Flare. 6 seconds, 50% attack speed, 20% basic cooldown ability refund. It's literally the same thing. They just renamed it. So this is the old passive for that, okay? So you have to ask yourself, okay, looks cool. Is it worth it, though, to lose all that? 15 AD, and you don't have mana on it. So you're losing 15 AD, 300 mana. Now for the 300 mana, you're gaining 250 health. So that's net positive, because I think you just much rather have health anyways. I'm pretty sure health, is that 700 or something, 600. Is that 600 stats versus 300 mana? Okay, so that's 420 stats. So you're gaining 180 gold value there, and mana is going to be way, way more valuable than health on someone like Riven, obviously. So you're gaining, 600 gold value off of the Riven, if you're looking at someone like Riven who does nothing with the mana, doesn't need it at all, but you're losing the 15 attack damage, which we looked at this before, isn't it like 500? Yeah, 525 gold worth of attack damage. And it's just flat out costing 400 more gold than the previous Essence Reaver. So you're paying 400, you're losing 525 value. That's, net negative 925. So even if you absolutely 100% did not need the mana at all, like your Renekton, your Riven, whatever, no mana, you're still going to be losing 325 gold value on this item. So that's bad. And then champions like Jax don't need the mana a lot, but it does something at least, right? It allows you to spam your leap strikes and your counter strikes and stuff like that a lot more. So that's good. But ultimately, when you're really breaking this down and looking at it, this is worse than the previous Essence Reaver for people who use Essence Reaver. Even for people who did not care at all about the mana or the mana regen or whatever, this is still worse. So, and a lot of that is because it's only 60 AD. If this was like 70 AD, that would be a much closer call. Because if you had 10 more AD, that'd be 350 gold value. And then it would basically be like, okay, I'm getting health, 600 gold worth of health. And I would be gaining effectively 350 gold value if I had 10 more AD on this. So that would be close. That'd be like 925, like 950 value. So then you could say, all right, that makes sense. That's worth it. That's net neutral. We can deal with that. Health is better than mana. Fine. But as it stands, without having that 10 extra attack damage, this is it's a scam. So people will probably still get this. Jax is going to get this. Riven's going to get this. If we're being fully honest, those champions are on the powerful side right now. So maybe this is a deliberate choice to power down those champs that abuse Essence Reaver a little bit. But it's going to feel bad. But, Jax is pretty obnoxious with Trinity plus Essence. And he has other stuff he can get. Jax can still get Titanic Hydra. He's still very good with that. He's still very good with Trinity. So it's probably not going to hurt him that much. But that cute little, Trinity and Essence Reaver build just got a lot worse. Okay. Stormrazor. Thank God they nerfed this item. The problem with Stormrazor is it just completely shut out every other item. Everybody had to rush Stormrazor. And so not everybody. There's Lucian didn't, Misfortune didn't. There's a couple of people that didn't. But the vast, vast majority of viable AD carries had to rush Stormrazor. And it's so bad on most of them. You just had to do it because if you didn't have that single item power spike, then you were going to fail. Right? So if you're Xayah and you have virtually no synergy with Stormrazor, you still have to get it. Xayah wants pure critical strike because her E scales off of critical strike. So she wants the real crit. Because the old Stormrazor didn't give her anything. No scaling on her E. So that was really bad. Kai'Sa does not want this at all. She wants attack speed. She wants on-hit ability. She's not really a hit-em-once, hard-hitting champ. right? And so this hurt champions like Kai'Sa, this item being in the game. This hurt champions like Xayah because they had to get it, but it sucks with their kit. So now they've basically removed the item from the game to open it up. So this is going to hurt champions like Jhin, especially, who rushed this early on. Now, Jhin can still probably rush Infinity Edge with its new cost that might be kind of weird, but he doesn't benefit from attack speed anyways. But I think that running like Infinity Edge plus Rapid Fire Cannon early on could be the way to go. So we'll see how that works, but and that could help him against squishies. The fourth shot with Infinity Edge can really bust squishies up. So I could see that could be decent on Jhin. But what they're doing with this, basically, they're powering down the attack damage. It's going from 60 to 55. The cost is going up from 2,800 to 3,100. That's another major reason people had to get this, is because it cost 2,800 gold, which was like absurdly cheap compared to other items. Attack speed is going down 10%. So right there, you're losing a ton of value. 300 gold on the cost. 5 extra attack damage is going to be 175 gold. So what's that? 475. 10% attack speed is going to be 250 gold. So what? 375 or 475 plus 250 is like 520 or 625. So you're losing 625 gold worth of stats right off the bat. You're losing the guaranteed crit, which is massive. And now your energized stacks deal 65 bonus magic damage on hit and slow the target by 40% for 1 second. Your other energized attacks are 30% more effective and also slow their targets by 40%. So 30% more effective, I believe, is damage. People have asked, well, does that mean the range on rapid fire is further, or does that mean that like Static Shiv Lightning affects 30% more targets? I don't think that's what they mean. I think they mean damage. So it's basically a damage amplifier on the Static Shiv Lightning and on the rapid fire damage of 30%. Now, rapid fire deals 60 to 140 based on level. So whenever you get it, you know, it's going to be dealing like maybe 70 around level 7 or so. So that would deal 70 damage. And this thing is dealing like 65. A flat 65. It doesn't scale. It costs 3,100 gold. Rapid fire costs 2,600. Now, this does have attack damage on it and attack speed, so that's definitely a thing. You notice it does not have critical strike on it, so it's not a crit item. So it's just this weird, really weird thing where it's like you can't get it with a crit build, really, because you need crit. You know, so if you go Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, Static Shiv, it's like, yeah, you could get this item, but it's not going to give you that coveted 100% crit that you want. It does give you extra modifiers with static plus rapid fire. I guess if you have static and rapid, maybe it's worth because you get 30% more damage on each one of those. But I just feel like it's just trash. I mean, when are you going to get this? It'd be like maybe 4th item, but why would you? Like, you're almost certainly going to go for Static Shiv, Rapid Fire, Infinity Edge on the crit item, on the crit champs again. Right? And so I feel like you're going to get a defensive item. You're going to get like a GA, or you're going to get like a Last Whisper or something like that as a final couple of items. So I don't know. I just don't think anyone's ever going to get this. I think it's really bad in its current state, but maybe I'm wrong about that. It says it wants to go into Energizer builds as like a 3rd or 4th item. I guess it's possible, but I don't know. It seems sketchy to me. It does not seem cost effective at all. It's only 82%. Now, a lot of the energized things are not that effective, though, which you'll notice. Like Rapid Fire Cannon's only 74%. I think Static Shiv is 84%. So all of these are like really, really ineffective, you know. Infinity Edge is like 111%. So Infinity Edge is pretty effective, not including its passive. Now, yes, these do have really cute sort of interactions, which are nice. But they're very, very inefficient items in and of themselves. So it's pretty rough. But yeah, I don't see that. This, I feel, is really bad. Phantom Dancer, so you're losing 25% times 15. And that 300. 375. So you're losing 375 gold there. You're losing 5% crit, which is 200. So you're losing 575 gold value right off the bat. You're gaining 100 here. So 475 gold value. You're still getting the 7% move speed. Now, you can kite with this, though, so you gain movement speed. So if you attack somebody with this, you are gaining move speed. So this will allow you to kite. I think, wasn't the previous version, like, you have to be moving towards them or something? I can't remember. But either way, you can use the 7% to kite a little bit more, potentially. But this right here is worse than the 12% decreased, I believe, most of the time. So if you think, like, if you have a 2,000 health pool, right, 12% damage, like, increased from 100 to 0 is going to give you 240 damage mitigated, right? If they kill you from 2,000 to 0, the entire time down, it's 12%, right? But if you have any sort of healing in there, if you're getting healing from your support or anything like that, then that 12% becomes a lot more valuable because you're going to have a much larger health pool, effective health pool, right? You might have 3,000 effective health pool because you're getting healed, or you have lifesteal or whatever. You've got some armor that's helping to mitigate some of that as well. So you have all of these tools to help you out, and it's permanent. Like, as long as you're auto-attacking someone who's like hitting you, you're getting this reduction. Versus with Lifeline, if you would take damage to reduce your health below 30%, you gain a shield that absorbs 240 to 600 scaling. So the scaling only starts at level 9 and finishes up at level 18. So it would be 240 is the lowest. Could go to 600. But it only lasts for 2 seconds, and it's only up if you're already low at 30%. So it's not helping you out in these attrition fights. So if you're just like trading hits back and forth in the laning phase, you're trading, you know, your life stealing up stuff. You know, you're trying to siege, for example, and you're taking a couple of hits every now and then. You're life stealing back up off of people, all that kind of stuff. So small like trades, it's not as good. It's only if it's an all-in and you're about to die, it gives you a 2-second shield. And it has a 90-second cooldown. So it just flat doesn't work if this shield goes off. So it's basically like Sterix for ranged champions, potentially. And it's called Lifeline. So you can no longer, on a champion that gets something like Sterix or Maw Malmortius, you can no longer get this. You have to choose either Maw, Sterix, or Phantom Dancer. You can't have all of them. So I just feel like this is just terrible. Like, who's going to get this? Like, already the only ranged champion who got this was Vayne, I think, in some circumstances. But, and that was usually just because she got Infinity Edge, and she didn't get, or not Infinity Edge, because she got Blade the Red King instead of Infinity Edge. So she'd usually, like, just go, like, Blade, and then in current days, she'd go Gensu's, and then maybe Phantom Dancer after that. But yeah, this just seems terrible. I mean, the real people this is going to impact are, like, Tryndamere and Yasuo are going to get hit real hard off of this, I think. So losing that critical strike is a massive deal. Losing the attack speed is a big deal. And then losing those trades, particularly because these, like, Tryndamere lifesteals for a decent chunk. Or he can, I think. And then I know that Yasuo gets that shield, and the shield also benefits from the 12% damage reduction, but the shield doesn't benefit at all from this extra lifeline shield that comes in. So I don't know if this is necessarily going to be like a super dagger in their heart, but it's certainly going to feel bad. They're going to have to adjust their builds. This right here is especially bad on Yasuo because remember, he gets his critical strike chance doubled. So this is not just 5%, it's 10%. Now, usually he overkills it on the critical strike damage anyways. He has to get 2 items, and it gives him 100% anyway. So usually he has more than 100% to be fair. But off of, like, single item rush, I think this gets a lot better. Or a lot worse, rather. So he's probably going to have to rush... I don't even know. Infinity Edge? Static Shiv? Probably Infinity Edge. But I don't know. Could be awkward. Now, one thing is they did bring Crit Cloak back in, and that's the component for this again. So you no longer have to get double BF Sword, which feels terrible. You can now get BF, Pickaxe, and Cloak of Agility. So that feels good. That's way better than double BF Sword. But yeah, I think Phantom Dancer is also a flop. So this item, I really don't see most people ever getting this. Like, why would you get this over something like Guardian Angel or Quicksilver Sash? Or even something like Maw Malmortius, I feel like, would give you better defense. I don't know. It just feels really bad. I feel like I would just much rather have GA or Quicksilver Sash. Or even something like Death's Dance, right? Which I think could come back into vogue a little bit more because it gives you the or like Bloodthirster. Gives you lifesteal, pairs really well with the rune. Overheal, which is like really strong right now. And gives you some kind of defense, right? Bloodthirster gives you the passive shield you can charge up, and Death's Dance heals you for a lot, gives you the lifesteal, and gives you that damage, that delay in damage, which is great if you have a Sona or a Soraka or a Janna, just something that can help you prevent that delayed damage if they just have a couple more seconds. So I think both of those even would be like good hybrid options instead of this Phantom Dancer crap. I mean, they are more expensive than Phantom Dancer, but I still think that GA or Quicksilver Sash is just going to be a better way to go. Okay. So they are lowering the costs on some of these things. This is notable. I mean, the 600 gold off on the shard can be pretty good if you're trying to build your rapid fire cannon. Getting that faster is nice. 200 gold off of that is probably a big deal. Zeal, 100 gold off of that is nice. Now, lowering the cost on these is really good. They are lowering the critical strike chance, but they're also lowering the cost. So you can at least buy it faster. And this is something that I recommended they do like last summer. I think that if they kept the previous iteration of Infinity Edge, it would have made a lot more sense if the items had 25% crit. So then you could go, you know, one Zeal item, get 25%, finish your Infinity Edge, get 50%, because it's going to be doubled, and then get one more Zeal item, and that would be 100%. Boom. No overkill on it. Easy to get to 100% crit, no wasted stats, and you'd end up saving 400 gold along the way. I think that's what they should have done, but anyways, they're doing it now. So this is nice. But, you know, it used to be 2,600 with more critical strike back in the day, and it used to have more movement speed. I think they, like, ninja nerfed the movement speed on these things, and they didn't say it on here. So I feel like it used to be more than 5% move speed. Maybe not. Maybe it's always been 5% move speed, but I feel like it used to be more. Maybe that's not true. 5%. 7% on Hurricane. Maybe not. Maybe it's always been 5%, but either way, still decent. I think Rapid Fire is still going to be the best one. The main reason for that is it does allow you to get the first hit on people, which can be a really huge deal in a fight. If you have that range and you're able to get the first hit, or even to help you siege towers sometimes. Another big thing is it increases your energized attacks by 25%. So that means you're going to get even more rapid fire hits, and you're going to get more fleet footwork hits, which is going to allow you to kite better. It's going to allow you to sustain better. So I think that rapid fire is still going to be the better, you know, item to rush on most champions that can't use Hurricane. And then Static Shiv can help you wave clear, and you are going to have 10% more attack speed on it. So maybe the 10% attack speed is enough. I guess if you really need wave clear, this might be something that like Trinity rushes instead of just because it would give you a lot of wave clear, and maybe you don't have to get Tiamat if you have this. But same thing with Yasuo. Maybe they just start rushing Static Shiv because that does have the 40% attack speed. So you are getting you know, 250 more gold value off of this in terms of raw stats. And, you know, whenever it triggers, it does do a lot of damage. I mean, it does 60 to 140. That's the same as this one. This one, you get the range, and it only hits a single target. This one bounces around and can hit multiple targets, right? So it can hit up to 5 different targets for that amount. So in team fights or in, or just for wave clear, it can be good. And keep in mind also that the Static Shiv proc can crit. So you can get a crit with this to deal extra damage, right? The 225% extra damage. So it is modified by Infinity Edge, and it can crit. And it does benefit from the Kerchisis shard. I guess they both build out of the same thing. But this little shard is going to be a lot better, I think. So maybe people start rushing static. I'm not really sure. The common wisdom has been rapid fire. And maybe it'll be someone like Caitlyn will want rapid fire. But people who are more interested in less poke and more wave clear type of stuff like Sivir or Xayah, that type of thing, might want static shiv earlier. So it's interesting. We'll see how it goes. Static's looking pretty good. Hurricane's looking good. They are reducing the crit by 25%, but you are getting 200 off. And Hurricane is still really, really strong because a lot of times people who get Hurricane don't particularly care about the crit that much. Like, it's okay, but usually they're trying to get it to apply other things they have going on, like Blade of the Ruined King, for example. So, like, Kallista's really going to like this a lot because she doesn't care as much about the critical strike, but she does care a lot about getting those Hurricane bolts. Or, like, Twitch. Twitch is going to love these changes a lot because now he can rush Hurricanes and Infinity Edge, and that's going to be a really, really good boon for him because he had been getting Blade of the Ruined King Hurricane, which is good, but it's like the crit off of Hurricane doesn't have a lot of synergy with Blade of the Ruined King. However, the on-hit bolts are nice. So, we'll see. I think we could see the return of Hurricane, Infinity Edge, Twitch. Hurricane, Infinity Edge, Static, Shiv, I believe is what you would get after that. Now you do a ton of damage. So, anyways, I think that could be good for Hurricane users because, like I said, if it's Blade of the Ruined King Hurricane, they're not going to care. Varus, Callista, if Twitch still wants to go Blade of the Ruined King, some iterations of Kai'Sa. Now, Kai'Sa's kind of an odd duck here because she really wants that AD. So, I think you might have to rush Infinity Edge instead of Stormrazor on her. That'll give you 80 AD, and by, level 9 or whatever, you only have to have 89, and so you can get that off of runes. If you just have, like, a Doran's Blade, and then you have Absolute Focus or something, that'll give it to you. So, I think she's still going to have to do that. Other option would be just go, like, Gensu's Nashers again, but I think that's kind of awkward because you're not going to be able to get many of your evolves. You'll be able to get your Q evolve off the AP off of Nashers, so I guess that's possible. Like maybe a Gensu Hurricane or Gensu Nasher Wit's End or something maybe. Or Hurricane. I've always wondered why she doesn't go Hurricane Blade of the Ruined King, because that seems like that'd be a really good build on her, but the answer to that is, well, she wouldn't evolve anything off of that. So, I don't know what she'll go. My instinct is it'll probably be Infinity Edge for the Q evolve, and then Hurricane after that. And then, I'm not sure if that'll even be enough attack speed. That'd only give you have to have, what, 100% attack speed for this? Yeah. And something like Lethal Tempo won't give it to you. I don't believe. So, but, yeah. I don't know. Kai'Sa's going to be an odd duck. If I had to guess right now, I'd say Infinity Edge Hurricane would be what she'll probably get, but I'll have to study it some more to see. Okay, last Whisper changes. This is actually really, really good. It's going to help AD Assassins a lot. So 20% total armor penetration, which is awesome on this item, and then 10 attack damage. So you're getting a lot of value after this. I talked about it in this previous video. 20 AD, 20% pen. So against a 75 armor target, then it's going to be 1,300 gold value, and it costs 1450. So if the target that you're hitting has 80 armor or more, then it's cost neutral. If they have less than 80 armor, then you're still losing gold on it. But it does build up to Lord Dominic's and Mortal Reminder, which they did give 5 extra AD on those items. So they are giving you some extra value there. So that's good. So yeah, people might get this again like Zed or Talon. Although you might see it on 80 carries after, like, as a 4th item if you need it against tanks. The problem was it didn't have a lot of synergy with Infinity Edge because Infinity Edge was putting out a lot of true damage. But now with this, and Last Whisper just felt terrible to buy until you upgraded it to Mortal Reminder. So this will help out a lot in terms of getting Mortal Reminder out there. So that's going to nerf champions like Soraka if people actually get Mortal as like a third item or something. But probably not too big of a deal. Okay, so that's it for these items. So yeah, overall verdict, mostly net neutral. It can be negative for a lot of champions. People who needed it, Phantom Dancer, it's really negative. Stormrazor abusers like Jhin, and some like builds on Draven, this is going to be really negative. Spear of Shojin is a trap. That's going to be negative. You know, net negative for like Riven and Jax. Essence Reaver is going to be a noob trap. Infinity Edge is better at single item, and you might actually see that rushed on some champions. So we'll see. So better at single, remember, better at single item, neutral at 2 items, worse at 3 items. So what does that mean? I mean, I won't talk a ton of, like, look at the 80 carry tier list, but my initial intuition is it's not going to change it that much. I think that champions that can avoid crit are still going to be sort of the best in the bot lane. So you're going to see, like, Vayne with her standard, Blade of the Ruined King, Gensu's build, and then you're going to see Lucian with his Blade of the Ruined King build. See Draven, who does some iteration of rushing, like, Bloodthirster or Death's Dance. We'll see what he does after that. He'll probably get maybe Rapid Fire Cannon. He might go double lifesteal items like Phantom Dancer or Death's Dance and Bloodthirster if he really wants to abuse that rune. Overheal. His attack speed would be pretty slow with that, but either way, Draven's able to rush items that are non-traditional. Winner here might be Twitch, who can go back to Hurricane plus Infinity Edge and shred squishy teams. He doesn't have to go Blade if he doesn't want to. Xayah is going to be a winner just because like she's in such a bad state right now, or she was, with having to get Stormrazor. Now she can at least get Infinity Edge and have some good scaling on her E, so she'll probably go like Infinity Edge Static Shiv. I think might be the standard on a lot of champs. I don't think it's going to shake up the bot lane meta too much, though, but we'll see. Kai'Sa's an odd duck, like I mentioned before. Probably Infinity Edge and Hurricane. Okay. Lissandra nerfs. Okay, she's all right in solo queue. This is mostly for competitive. She's going to be pretty strong. You know, more mana on her wave clear. Does add up over time. She might have to get a mana item after this. She might have to get, like, a Ludens. Glacial Path, kind of a weird nerf. It does less damage, so it's going to have less wave clear. You can't really exploit it by putting it into terrain and then pathing through the terrain, which is really a super high elo pro thing to do. Sion, few nerfs, probably a good idea. He's in virtually every pro game, particularly because they just nerfed a lot of the other top laners. They got to nerf him a little bit. So Decimating Smash, damage is down, probably okay. The Soul Furnace change is a pretty big deal early because I think that isn't that the last thing you level. It's the second or third thing that you level, so that's going to be like a permanent 4 seconds on this a lot of the time, so that's a really big deal for trading in lane. Zyra, this is actually a really huge nerf to Zyra. It doesn't look like a lot, and at first glance I was like, oh, that's not that much, who cares? But like if you look at it on a percentage basis, it's a lot, right? They're going from 24 plant damage down to 20 even at early levels. So that is losing 1/6. So that's like 17% of her damage on her plants. It's a very big deal. You got to remember, these plants attack a lot. So it's not like they're just attacking once or twice. You know, a lot of times they're going to be hitting people like 3, 4, 5 times in team fights. And they get empowered by your ults. They do 50% more damage. So like if you have multiple plants that are hitting people that are all empowered for 50% more damage, then this, you know, 4 damage here, 4 damage there adds up a lot over time. So I don't necessarily think it's the nail in the coffin for Zyra, but it's a pretty big nerf. It's a pretty big change for her. 17% less damage. Most of your damage comes from your plants. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, it doesn't impact your direct spell damage with your Q and your E, your auto attacks, and things like that. But I do think that this is going to add up over the course of a long laning phase. I think Zyra is already getting outscaled in a lot of matchups against champions like Sona. Even champions like Janna or Soraka. A lot of these champions, once they end up getting 2 forbidden idol items, then unless she's really far ahead, then she's just not going to be able to kill anybody anymore. They're just going to heal through all of it. So Zyra's still in a good spot. I think she still had a pretty high win rate. She's probably one of the highest win rate supports. And she's up there, yeah. I mean, 52.8. Yeah, she's up there. The only person that's higher is Sona. Dang, did Brand fall down that much? Where's... Oh, yeah. Wow, Brand kind of fell off a cliff. I mean, not like super off a cliff, but like that nerf to Brand last patch knocked him down like 2%. 2 or almost 3%, so that was pretty significant. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. So about an hour, so not too bad, not too bad. But yeah, so the TLDR, a lot of the main offenders have been nerfed a lot. The Irelia, the Akali, the Aatrox were the big ones. Then kind of more for pro play, the Lissandra and the Sion. For solo queue, the Zyra has been nerfed. The, the AD item, like I said, I don't think it's really going to change that much in the meta. There will be some specific champions that become a little bit better. Your Xayahs, your Twitches, there will be some that fall off a little bit. I think that will get a little bit worse. Like maybe Jen. Who else really abused Stormrazor? Kaisa, just because I'm not sure about Kaisa. Like if she can find a good build, she might be able to work. But I still think it's going to be... I still think Blade of the Ruined King is going to be better than Infinity Edge to rush on the champions that abuse it, like Vayne and like Lucian, just because I think that item's going to be much more consistent. I think it's much more abusable with the lifesteal, especially with the Overheal rune right now. It's just got more utility. It's got that burst damage off of the bilge water. You can slow people down, kite them. This is going to be good if you land that crit, right? That 25% crit. But when you only have 25% crit and you don't have any attack speed... then that can start to feel pretty bad as well. So, I don't know. It's possible. I don't remember where I was going with that. But anyways, we'll see. I don't think it's going to shake up the meta too much. I still think you're going to see a lot of Vayne, a lot of Ezreal, a lot of Lucian. I think those are going to be the strongest solo queue champs right now. Well, Lucian is just like definitely strong, and if someone knows what they're doing, Vayne and Ezreal can be strong. I think Draven is still resident, like sleeper, super, super powerful. A lot of people don't abuse him. He's the biggest abuser of the Overheal rune because he can get a big lifesteal item as his first item because of the way that his Q interacts with lifesteal. And I think that Twitch is going to be potentially really strong right now. So I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh my god, these new item changes are crazy. But maybe like you see someone like Caitlyn start to creep back in, potentially. She really likes Stormrazor as well, though. Yeah, it's just not going to be the AD carry revitalization. People are going to be trying to play things like Jinx, Tristana, and bring back some of these old champs. And I just don't think it's happening. However, on a final note, I will say that the last time I looked, AD carries are actually statistically a lot stronger than they were. And the reason for this has been, I think, the nerf to Ignite in the laning phase makes it a lot safer for them to lane. The nerf to junglers. Now, people have mentioned, oh, well, jungle didn't get nerfed in the early game, right? It only got nerfed really in the late game. It's like, sort of, but at the same time, it did hurt the jungle a little bit. And it is kind of creating a placebo effect where you're seeing a lot less Kha'Zixes, a lot less like Shaco's, Zens, these early game junglers, and people are picking things more like, Sejuani, Nunu, and kind of these like scaling junglers, these power farm junglers. And that's leaving the AD carries alone to scale in the laning phase a bit more. And so a lot of these bruisers have, and like these anti-AD carry champions, are getting weaker too. Your Irelias, your Akalis, your Urgots, your Aatroxes, they have been nerfed repeatedly over the last few patches. And so that puts a lot more power in the AD carry's hands. Also, you've got champions like Cassiopeia getting nerfed. And champions like Rakan getting nerfed, who are the bane of a lot of AD carries because he was very solid, reliable, engage. Now that's not going to be there anymore. So last time I looked, a lot of these top people are AD carries, actually, near the top of the ladder right now. So you've got, like, 1 here, That guy's Riven. I think this guy's AD carry. 2. Shifter's mid. This guy's support. That guy's Draven, Kaisa. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. So 5 of the top 10 players right now in the NA Challenger scene are AD carries. So I'm just saying, they're already, like, if you're good on the AD carry, if you abuse strong AD carries, if you can play Lucian well, Ezreal, and if you're kind of lower elo Vayne, if you're higher elo, substitute Vayne for Kaisa, then you can actually win games. But it's not because of these items, it's because of all these other nerfs that are going on to things that were good against AD carries, and sort of the revitalization slowly of tanks in the jungle and of tanks in the top lane. You're seeing that creep out a lot more of tanks that are still being played in the support role. That has been what's brought AD carries back over time. So these items aren't really going to change that much for most champions, I don't think. But AD carries might continue to trend stronger as they nerf some of these other champions even more. The Irelia, the Akalis, all those people. So as they nerf them, as they pull them down, AD carries are going to rise a little bit. Also the rise, and people are starting to figure out enchanters, particularly Sona is super strong right now, which is very good news for AD carries because she gets Ardent Sensor, she protects him really well, she abuses Overheal really well. So anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you all very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Check out the tier list. I'll have them coming out soon. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day.